guys, it's Aaliyah and I am back with another tutorial. This week I am crafting one of my favorite things to craft, which is the shaker cake toppers. This one, I made a cake topper for the tutorial, but I'm not actually going to use it for a cake topper. I'm going to take the sticks out and put magnets inside, and it's going to go on a gift box instead. So there's that. So I'm going to take you step by step from the Cricut process, Design Space, all the way until the final steps. So yeah, keep watching if you want to learn how to make it. Everything that I used is down in the description box below. All the links to everything. If there's something you want me to make, you can comment it down below and I will get on it as soon as possible. And I think that's it. So yeah, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching. This baby milestone blanket that I made for TJ is my inspiration for the cake topper that I'm doing. So it's basically going to look the same elephant, the same moon, the same clouds, just adding a few stars. I believe I added stars on the blanket as well. I just cut it from a different page. But now I'm on to the next, getting the topper started and looking for the same elephant that I used. And then I took the leaf off because obviously the leaf doesn't go, so I deleted that. I added an outline to my elephant so that I have something to glue it to. I ended up settling on the outline size 0.125. I thought that looked perfect, so I went ahead and added that. And then you need to group them together. I don't think I grouped them together right here, but you do need to group them together to keep them as one piece. I changed the ears to blue, and then this here is where I actually grouped the two pieces together. Next, I went and looked for my moon. This was the exact same moon that I used. Just getting all the pictures at one time, so I went and got the cloud. It was a cloud that I uploaded from Google because I wanted my cloud to look a specific way and then to only be one layer. The ones that they had in Design Space were multiple layers, and I just didn't really care for the way they looked. I changed the color of my moon, and then the color of the elephant to a different color. It's obviously glitter, so I wanted to make sure that I made it a darker color so that I knew it was going to be glitter when it was time to cut it out. I placed the clouds where I liked them the most, just playing with them a little bit until I was comfortable with where they were. Now I am going to look for my star, and at this point I realized that my laptop was no longer screen recording, but I added in stars, changed the colors and the sizes to how I wanted them. Next I went to the shapes and got my circle, and then I made it to 6.5 inches. And then I went to the arrangements and pushed it to the back so that it's behind everything else. I changed the color to the blue that I wanted it to be, or kind of the blue that I thought I wanted it to be, but then when I was cutting things out I picked a different shade of blue. So it took a minute to find the shade of blue that I kind of wanted to use. After finally choosing the color, I was able to duplicate the circle so I could use the duplicate for the next step. So I took the circle that I already had and I put it behind the elephant in the clouds and made it to the size, placed it where it needed to be. And then I zoomed out so that I could see the other circle. That little gray circle in the corner is going to be the piece of acetate, the little plastic piece that allows you to see the confetti in the inside. So I duplicated the duplicated circle and sized down the new circle. I tried it at 5 inches and realized that was too small, so I did it at made it a little bit bigger and ended up settling on 5.5, and then I centered it and selected them both, and then sliced it, used the slice feature, so that if I'm left with only an outer ring of the circle and not the full circle. I just deleted the two middle pieces so that I'm literally only left with the outer ring. And then I changed it to gray. And then I selected the elephant and the moon and clouds and brought it forward. I went back to my circle and sized it back up to 6.5, duplicating it again and making that circle a little bit smaller. Not by too much. And I ended up settling on 6. So the bigger circle was 6.5 and the smaller circle was 6. And then I centered them. And did the same step as before, where I select them both and then use the slice feature, taking out the middle two circles and only leaving the outer ring. And then I made that piece a little bit smaller, so instead of going around the outer edge, it's in the middle of the gray circle. And then I centered all of those. Next, I had to move the elephant group back to the front of everything and place it back where it's supposed to be. Next, it's time to write his name, and I used the Eleanor font that I downloaded to write his name, and then I made it bigger so that I could see. And I just took the text spacing, the letter spacing down to -0.2. And there were letters like the R's that I didn't think were close enough to each other, so I decided to ungroup it and move the R's. I moved the L closer to the last R, and then I took the rail and moved it closer to the first R, just so the R's still connect. And then I just moved the T over a little bit, not to connect, just to make it a little bit closer. And then to keep the same spacing for when I did the junior, I just duplicated the L. And then you'll see in the letter space that it's still -0.2. I just didn't want to have to select text again and have to do that all over again. So I took that L and made it the junior. And I just sized that down so it's not as big as the Terrell and stuck it right under the Terrell. I kind of wanted the J to be touching the R so they are connected, and then I welded them together. So when I cut it out, all the letters are connected, and then the J is connected to the R. This cursive font is too skinny to go on the border on the topper alone, so I went and added an outline. And then I used the same numbers as the same size outline for the name as I did for the elephant. So I did the 0.125. Not actually sure where that square came from, so I just erased that. And then I changed the color of the Terrell Junior to match the same color as the moon. And then I used the outline, or made the outline color be the same color as the elephant's ears. I made another outline the same size, 0.125, just for some extra cuteness. And then I changed that outline. I originally wanted it to be the same color as the elephant, but I used a different glitter cardstock for the outline of the name versus the elephant. After getting my color situated, it was time to size down the Terrell, place it where it was supposed to go, and then kind of move it around and size it to what I thought looked perfect. After I got it to the right size, I duplicated it and then welded all of that together. And then I duplicated that weld 2 more times because I want the name to pop out and have extra boldness and thickness to it. Because I've added so much since I added the stars to the page, I had to bring those back to the front so they can go on top of the topper, and then I just kind of arranged those to how I thought would be cute. They are not the same color as the background. It looks like the same color, but it's actually a different shade of blue. And then when I actually made the topper, you could see the different colors. Now that I found the perfect spot for all the stars, I highlighted everything all together, grouped it all so now it's all one piece, and then I went and duplicated it so now I have 2. And then I took that duplicated topper and I had to move the Terrell outlines out of the way, and then I welded all of that together, and then I duplicated it, and this just adds sturdiness to the topper. I actually had to duplicate it twice, so 2 are going to stick together, and then you'll see where the last piece goes. So now I have my acetate, my Terrell outlines, the outline of the entire topper, and the topper itself. I remembered I wanted to add a little more dimension to the clouds, so I went and duplicated both clouds because they're different sizes, so I had to do one of each. And now I have everything, and it's time to get everything cut out and put it all together. I started by sorting out all the pieces on what goes together, what's getting glued together, and I first started with the elephant, and I used the Barely Art Precision Glue to make sure that I got like all the little corners or angles so that nothing sticks out. So I made sure I got the trunk so it doesn't stick up in the ears, and then the middle I just kind of lay down on its own because it's just the middle. is the little part of the body, and then I did the legs. I realized that I put the ears on backwards, but it was too late. It was already glued down, and this glue dries really quickly, so it was no point in trying to take it off and redo it. I just left it because I can tell, but I'm not really sure if anybody else can tell, so I just left it. Because the tail was so tiny, I used the tweezers to help hold it. Those tweezers make life so much easier. Next I moved on to the clouds, and then I used the pop dots from the Dollar Tree to make the clouds stick out so they aren't laying flat on the topper. After getting both clouds done, I worked on his name. So there were 3 layers to his name, and I just went and put, this is the middle layer and the bottom layer, and I just went and put glue on the middle layer and laid it right in the middle of the bottom layer. Fool me once, fool me twice. When you're hiding things, might as well be lies. Can you ever get it right? How long will I let this? And then for the top layer, I used the tweezers for the T. And then the rest of the name and the junior, I did the rest of Terrell first and then placed that down, just making sure to get at least to the top of every letter so that the top lays down flat, very flat, and doesn't stick up at all. Like I said, the glue dries very quickly, so by the time I got to the junior part, the Terrell was already dry and stuck. And then I didn't glue all of the letters in junior because it was just very small and not really necessary, but just enough to make it stick down. And then I was just moving around some of the letters to make sure that it was stuck down nicely and in the right place. These just add thickness to it so that it's not flat, but I'm also going to use pop dots. So I just glued these 3 together just for a little bit of sturdiness and to make it a little bit more thick. Then I went in with the pop dots in some of the important places so that when it lays flat, it still sticks out. Then I went ahead and stuck his name onto the outline and moved on to the next step, which was sticking the two of the backs together. I have 3 and I stuck 2 of them together first. And this was the top layer and the middle layer. I wanted to make sure that I got it very carefully around the border, not too close to the edge so our glue is oozing out, but close enough just to make the edges stick, and then just some in the middle because it's so big. This part actually needs glue in the middle. The next part was gluing the border to the acetate. I did the gray border first since it's the biggest one, using the same glue. You can use hot glue, but hot glue on acetate, if you get any of the hot glue gun strings on acetate, you're pretty much ruined because it's kind of hard to get off of the plastic. And then I went in with the blue border. Baby, you a queen, you can move how you want. You was rocking with me when I couldn't stay afloat. They ain't never saying nothing wavy to a boat. Like eyes up, look at me, now I'm the captain. Brought the camera, time for action. Split the legs just like a fraction. Tuck the napkin, time for snacking. You a mother meal. Tell me that it's mine, baby, tell me that it's real. Hit it to the max, well, tell me how it feel. It's gonna be a minute, cause I'm in it for the thrill. Make her feel like heaven, she gonna put me in the wheel. And willingly, I wanna do anything she wanna do. Next, I took my foam tape and went all around the circle with it. You can use pop dots for this, or just regular foam, like pieces, squares. But that just takes a long time to place a bunch of squares just all around. So I just used the roll of tape, tearing it off ever so often, just so it doesn't make my circles scrunch up. Next, I just made sure to press down all the way around before I put the confetti in, just to make sure that none of it came out. I never really know how much confetti I'm pouring. I just pour until it looks like it's enough. And because the elephant kind of sits off to the side, you also don't know where the confetti is going to go. So because the elephant was kind of off to the side, I wanted to make sure I poured a lot just in case anything went under the elephant or the moon. There was still enough on the other side or in the middle so that you could still see that there was confetti inside. After getting all the confetti center, I took the backing off of the tape, and then this is where I realized I made a mistake. I knew while designing that I needed an extra circle to put on the back of here, but when I was cutting things out, I could not remember what that extra circle was for, so I just had to trust myself and just put the back of the topper on here and make sure I had placed it nicely. So I just found the most rounded piece of the backing and stuck it to a piece of the acetate to make sure that it was laying where it should have been laying. And then I went on and added the moon and I used some pop dots so that the part that hangs off of the actual shaker part, the part that hangs off, doesn't get pressed down, or make sure that it still, the moon pops out too. So I added some pop dots there, and then the rest just got glued down.
Told you so extra, but I know I'm the same. Love me in spite of my trauma. Give me what I need instead.
I did the same with his name. To the part on the back that's not on the shaker, I added pop dots, and then the rest of his name got glued as well to the actual shaker portion.
Share love in the ocean, but if you wanna go insane either way, baby, we could go all night. We could do it all night. We could go all night, all night. Do we heal, do we bleed?
Adding the elephant in the clouds was next, but I realized where I had placed the pop dots in the clouds, I couldn't connect the clouds like they were supposed to be connected, so I took the end pop dots out of the clouds and then glued the clouds to each other, and then went back in and added the pop dots inside, so it still sticks out and there are no flat pieces in the clouds.
Can we stay high, babe? I'd rather be on that wave, tryna control our emotions. If we on a right side of passion, we could share love in the ocean. But if you wanna go insane either way, baby,
I added the pop dots to around the edges, and then glued the rest of the clouds down to the shaker portion.
collected, but you pushing on my nerves, and I'm knowing your intention, I'm under pressure. Okay, I'm admitting that a couple things I said got acidic in the tone, in the presence I get careless. Long as you know I come with imperfections, when you look at me, you
Next,
see
it's Elephant's turn, and I glued him in because his whole body is on the shaker. I did not need pop dots for him, and I just stuck him down into the clouds.
We fight retreating, but you trying to kill the cycle. When nobody's stressing that body like me, I know the way you like it. I treat you like a queen, run the castle, you a treasure. Feel like you setting fire to my desire for the pleasure.
I couldn't actually remember how I had the stars placed, so I just had to go to Design Space and see where I had my stars and place them correctly, and then glue them down, adding pop dots where the stars hang off.
Why don't you get it by now? Tell me what you learned in grade school. Give it to me like you want it. Did you forget that golden rule? Why is our love at one-sided? It should really be give and take. Fill you up and leave me empty. Baby, was that my mistake? Covering these feelings, going through changes. I'm just so mad right now, I can't even
Now it is actually time to make it a cake topper, and I use more pop dots so that when I glue the sticks on and then glue the back paper on, the back piece of cardstock on, it doesn't lay flat, making the sticks poke out the back. So you have to add pop dots for the extra dimension.
But if we try to talk about it, our history says we'll just argue. And I know you're gonna act a fool, and then no one could tell the difference between me.
These sticks were way too short for this, but honestly, I'm not using this as a cake topper. It's actually going in a gift basket. So I'm thinking about taking the sticks out completely and replacing them with magnets, just so if they want to keep this forever or stick it to something, they can. But I just turned it a couple times to make sure that I was placing the sticks in the right position. And then I took the backings of the pop dots off so that I could stick the last layer of cardstock on the back. I hot glue the sticks one more time so that it sticks to the other paper too and not just the middle layer. And then at that point you're done. That's your cake top.